Hey, everybody, and welcome to Generally Speaking, the podcast that bridges the worlds of pop culture and personal development. I am your host, Jennifer Snook. I am so happy to be here with you today. I hope everything has been going well in your world. Here is what's been going on in mine. So get this, you guys. Just this morning, I woke up to a TikTok community violation, a guideline violation. And funny enough, it was for a video in which I was talking about Teresa and Louie. And this was the video, you may have seen it, where I called Louie Screwy Louie. Or actually, it was more of a song. It was more of Screwy Louie, Screwy Louie, Screwy Louie. So I get this community violation. I appealed it. This is not the first time this has happened. It seems like every time I post a video that Louie might not like, it gets a community violation. So I would just like to say, hey, Louie, aren't you like an international businessman? Don't you have bigger things to be paying attention to? On a much lighter note, you guys, I got to see my Carly. My oldest flew into town yesterday, and she ended up coming to the salon. She got her hair done. So I got a couple unexpected hours with my girl. And I will tell you, I will take time with my kids over time with anyone. Literally, you could put anyone in front of me. I'd rather hang out with them. Anyway, we have a big show coming up for you today. We have all of our normal stuff. And in our personal development segment, we have an interview coming up with a new author named Chip Beardsley, who has written a new book called The Optimum 8. And we're going to be spending some time with Chip. So stay tuned for that. We also have a new little mini segment that we're going to be working in called What's Got Your Goat and What's Tickling Your Fancy. So I'm telling you, as you get older, less and less gets your goat just because you're just grateful to be alive. But there are still things that get my goat. So the other day I was in the shower. I only listen to podcasts when I'm in the shower just because that's really the only time I have time to. So the other day I was listening to Two Teas in a Pod. And let me just preface this by telling you that I've always liked Teddi Mellencamp. I think she is a sweet gal. I think she is so brave. I think she is a wonderful, wonderful human being. I truthfully do. However, I heard Teddi doing something that I hear so many people doing, and that is using the word anxiety over and over and over and tethering themselves to this word anxiety. Well, I have anxiety. That's why I do this. Well, I can't do that because of my anxiety. Building so much anxiety conversation in their life that it just becomes a part of their identity. And I just really wanted to dial down on this for a minute because anxiety used to play a big part in my life too, until I realized that anxiety is a result of your fears. You don't have anxiety. Anxiety has you. Anxiety is to the nervous system what a fever is to the body. You know, when you get a fever, that is a signal that something else is wrong. It's the same with anxiety. When you have anxiety, what you really have is fear. Anxiety is the physical manifestation of fear. If you're fearful of something, it will manifest as anxiety. So while it feels real, what you really have is fear. Anxiety is just a byproduct of that fear. And when we treat byproducts, we never get to the root of what's really wrong. And it's just like I always say, until you get to the root of what's wrong, the weed that comes with that root, like the anxiety that comes from that, will just keep coming back until you deal with the actual fear and you can pull that out at the root. The anxiety will just keep coming back. And that's just a fact of life. So it's important to start changing the way we talk about it. Instead of saying that we have anxiety, anxiety is something that like it feels like you're a victim of and you have no control over. But if you deal with your anxiety at the root, at the fear where it's actually being produced, you will be able to control your anxiety instead of feeling like it's totally outside of your reach and it's running your life. It's stopping you from driving or it's stopping you from engaging in life the way you would like to engage in life. So I just want to put that out there. This is nothing about Teddi. When you, instead of saying you have anxiety, if you say, oh, I have fear, it's almost like, wait a minute, I have fear. What am I fearful for? And if you call it fear, then you're able to really Call it by its name. It is not a germ. It is not a virus. It is not something you can catch. Call it fear, and I promise you that will start changing the way you look at it. Okay, so on a lighter note, here is what's tickling my fancy. The other day, I ran into Haley Erbert. I don't know if you guys know who Haley is. She is a professional dancer. She also happens to be the wife of Derek Huff. And I'm going to tell you, Haley is an absolute angel. I've known her casually for a few years. My daughter used to play in a co-ed soccer team in downtown Hollywood, and we used to go on Tuesday nights under the lights and cheer for our salmon rolls. And Haley would always come. They're all mutual friends, and so she would come and she would watch the game. And, you know, I don't know if you heard, but Haley had a cranial hematoma, and she really, really went through it. She was in really rough shape, but I was so excited to see her beautiful smiling face the other day. She is as warm and lovely as ever. She's an absolute angel, you guys. And so, seeing her makes me emotional. It just honestly just fills my heart with such joy. So seeing Haley, seeing her joyous and happy and in such a good place and feeling healthy and strong absolutely tickled my fancy this week, and I was so happy to see it. And speaking of tickling fancies, you know what else would tickle mine? If you are watching us on YouTube right now, reach out and hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening on another streaming platform, please reach out and hit that follow button. I will wait. Okay. Thanks, you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, now let's move into what's going on in reality. Everybody has heard Justin Timberlake got a DUI or a DWI, depending on what state you're in. And I know it's on every channel, but I don't think anyone should be all that surprised. I mean, hopefully Justin learns a lesson. It was definitely not the right move, but I don't think that it needs to be on every single channel. And then we've still got Jen and Ben on the rocks. Are they getting a divorce or are they not? I know TMZ just put out a doc calling Jen a love addict, but here's what I have to say about that. If anyone has been following Jennifer Lopez for any amount of time, they understand that Jennifer Lopez herself has come out and said that indeed she did used to have kind of an addiction to finding love outside of herself because that's what she thought love was. That's how she thought that you found your joy. But Jen's whole thing for quite a while now has been the fact that she has really found that love within herself. And so that's the thing. Like love, once you find self-love, all the other addictions fade away because you're not looking to those other addictions to fill you up. Jen has found the love that she has been looking for, and she found it within herself. So the love addiction thing doesn't hold anymore. That's who she was then, not who she is now. I mean, honestly, that's what she made that entire movie about. Both of those movies were truthfully about her finding herself. And you saw her go through the guys and cycle through the guys. But that was the message, you guys, is that she found self-love within herself. So she doesn't need to go and look for it externally because she has found that place of peace within herself, regardless of any external relationship. So I really think that Jen is navigating this relationship with Ben from a different standpoint. I don't think she is operating in the same way. And I think that is exactly what that's what This Is Me Now is all about. It wasn't just about the romance with the rekindled romance. It was about finding the love within herself and creating that relationship and making that relationship right. Because once you make that relationship right, everything else just kind of falls in place. And that's just a fact. And I know that because I went through it. And I know a lot of people really couldn't relate to that movie and what she was saying or what she was trying to say. But I did. And I think I did so much just because I myself went through, I've talked about it before, what I call my personal orgasm, where I fell in love with myself. And when I fell in love with myself, my entire life changed. I had a brutal addiction to pain pills for a few years. And when the moment that I fell in love with myself and changed that relationship that I had with myself, I never wanted to do another drug. Self-love was the antidote to my drug addiction and all of the other misery in my life. And ever since I fell in love with myself, my entire life changed. So I get what Jen was saying. I really do. So I'm still holding out hope for these guys. And whether or not they continue on with their marriage. I still think that Jen is not operating from a place of being addicted to love. And I think that she will be able to navigate through this just fine. Over on Bravo, everything is completely up in the air with the Real Housewives of Atlanta simply because of everything that's going on with Kenya. And truthfully, it's like I said, if Kenya really did what is being accused, then she absolutely deserves to be suspended. And you cannot conflate this with the Sandoval thing. Those are two completely separate things. And there's rumblings that Teresa may now be getting her own spinoff, but quite frankly, I just cannot see that happening. I cannot see Bravo getting any more into bed with Teresa and Louie than they already are. They know how messy he is. Speaking of someone who did get into bed with Teresa and Louie that is now speaking, Melissa Feaster, Teresa's former co-host of Namaste Bitches, has come out. She gave an interview to the Daily Mail, and she basically said, terrible things have been said about me and the podcast and how I handled it. And none of that is true. I had 2 kids under 6. I worked my ass off for this podcast for 2 years. I would never do anything to sabotage it. Anyway, you guys check that out. It is very interesting. I mean, very interesting. And I would just like to throw this out there, Melissa. I know that you are pregnant. I know that you are busy, but if you would like to come on and talk about what actually went down just a little bit more, just to get the facts out there, this is a safe space to do that. So consider this your formal invitation. Over on Watch What Happens Live, Jen Fessler said that after all the information that she ended up getting on Louie, she does now believe that he was the one that called Margaret's son at work. And speaking of Teresa, I just want to say this. There has been so much chatter this last week about how Teresa and Melissa have caused these low ratings, but I think it's important to just remind the world that it was Teresa that drew the line in the sand. Teresa was the one that said that she wasn't going to engage. Melissa just followed suit. What is Melissa supposed to do? Follow her around and beg her to talk to her? It was Teresa that created this chasm. So let's not blame Teresa and Melissa because they are not the same. All right, everybody. Speaking of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, let's call Christy so we can recap it.
Hi.
Hi. Are you ready to talk some cheers? Cheersies, my dearsies.
Cheersies. Happy summer solstice. Happy first day of summer.
Isn't that exciting?
Today.
I'm here for it.
Summer's so different as an adult.
Isn't summer different as an adult? And it goes by so much faster as an adult. Don't you remember by the end of summer, you were just like, when is this over? And that doesn't happen. No, now it's like you blink.
Yep, right. Time flies and you're having fun.
So what did you think of Jersey this week? I have very detailed notes.
Well, okay. So when I spoke to you earlier, you told me to listen to, if you asked if I listened to Teresa's podcast.
Oh, yes. Okay. I know. Please hold on. Okay. So I want your honest thoughts. I haven't heard yet. What are your honest thoughts?
Yeah. So I put my headphones on, I had my coffee and I was outside. And first of all, who's the man is this her producer that's with her? Paul? Is his name Paul?
It must be. I think so.
So he says that he interviewed Louie and he says, I cried twice listening to Louie speak. Paul cried twice listening to Louie speak. But so Teresa says that she's bringing Kim and Jackie on because there's no reunion. So
she's making her own reunion.
And she says, well, wait until the end of this season. You'll see exactly what my family has done. Do you realize that she has been saying this for the last, that's all she says. She makes these crazy accusations and tells people that they're going to see. Stay tuned because you're going to see. That way, it's like she dangles this carrot out there like maybe she knows, like there actually is something, but it's always just a cover up because she never wants to take any accountability. It's just so transparent every single time. Yeah, I can't wait to see the ending of this because Jeff Lewis had Andy on this week. And, Jeff always tries to grind him about give me information. And
yeah.
And he says, we didn't need a reunion because this last episode was great. So that'll explain everything.
Well, time will tell.
Holding our breath. And we only have New Jersey to talk about this week.
I know we only have New Jersey it's true. I know.
So crazy.
But it was, I will say, as far as episodes go, it was juicy. It was very juicy.
Yeah.
So the episode starts out with Teresa still fighting with Fuda, right? He screams out to her, "I'll call you when I need my money laundered." And she says, "I don't do money laundry." Money laundry with a Y.
And she calls him, what does she call him?
John Fugazi.
Fugazi. And you know what that means in Italian? Gay. She's calling him gay.
What do you mean she's calling him gay?
Because of the dildo thing.
Oh, John Fugazi. Oh, shut up.
Yeah. I heard it. And I'm like, what the hell does that even mean?
I thought John Fugazi was just some type of slang, like gangster slang, like trying to call him a wannabe gangster.
No.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
Hey, Siri, what does gazy mean in Italian? Yeah, you've got it.
In Italian, gazing is?
Oh, she said I said gazing, like I'm gazing into your eyes.
I'm telling you something. I don't think that Teresa is clever enough to come up with John Fugazi. It?
I heard it on my podcast, Watch What Crappens.
Okay, if this is true, I mean, I'm into this. Let's just
Happy Pride, Teresa.
Hold on. I thought John Fugazi was just like a slur, like, you know what I mean? Like calling somebody almost like a meatball.
Or a Tony Soprano, like they called it.
Exactly.
But yeah, look it up and we'll go back to it next week. But that's what I heard yesterday.
And then Teresa shows her true self again, starts screaming, "You're a loser, you're a drug dealer." And then she turns to Louie and says, "John is making a very, very, very big mistake. Very big."
Yeah, he's screwing with Teresa Giudice.
The wrong Teresa Giudice. And did you see Louie?
He says, "He's such a hothead, like your brother. And hotheads don't end up," what is it?
Anywhere. Hotheads don't end up anywhere. And I just sat there thinking, of all people.
Look in the mirror.
Of all people, you have the nerve to call somebody else a hothead. And here we go. Once again, Louie, Mr. Phony Baloney. In one breath, he's so peace, love, and let's build bridges. And the next minute, he's in Teresa's ear comparing someone that they don't like to her brother. I mean, it's just...
I know.
He's gross.
Toxic.
He's horrible. On their way out of the restaurant, the foodies decide they're not bringing back that weird housewarming, and they drop the blue bottle. The blue bottle, who was really the big star of this entire episode.
Yeah. They left it on the bar.
They left it on the bar with the bow and the card and the whole thing. And then did you see when John and Rachel were walking out, Rachel turns to John and says, "Did you notice how quiet Louie was?"
Yeah.
And get this, I haven't even told you this, but I mean, you probably have heard me say this, but the reason why Louie was so quiet in that entire episode isn't because he turned over a new leaf or anything. It's just because Teresa told him that he needs to shut his trap because he caused such a mess last time. And you know, it's so funny. You know that video that I did this week, the Screwy Louie video? I woke up this morning. First thing I woke up to was a community guideline violation from TikTok, and they had removed the video. Because he reported it, like he reports all of my videos that he doesn't like.
And you sang that the song of the summer is
Screwy Louie. I mean,
he can't
if the shoe fits, right? But isn't that hilarious that I call him Screwy Louie, and then that video, he tries to bring that video down. Every time he tries to bring one of my videos down, I appeal it. I tell them to please go take a closer look, and it always gets reinstated because it's not going against any community guidelines. He just doesn't like he just doesn't like me telling the truth about him.
Exactly. Oh, geez.
That's all it is.
I'm glad you got it back up.
I know, me too. Oh, then Louie, like you said, Louie of all people calls him a Tony Soprano wannabe, calls John Fuda a Tony Soprano wannabe. And again, has he seen himself?
I know.
I mean, you talk about someone that has absolutely zero self-awareness. It's unbelievable. He's right on par with Teresa, quite frankly. I mean, they really are. Yeah.
They are cut from the same cloth.
100% cut from the same cloth. Let's see. Over at Danielle's, she's still on cloud 9 because of that bougie Fashion Week debut, which went so well.
And did you see the bed that her daughter sleeps in? It was like a dog bed. You know, she's down on the floor.
She crawled out.
Where?
That was so cute. She just comes crawling out like Army crawling out.
Yeah, in this little bed.
What do you think about Danielle?
I like Danielle.
I feel like I like Danielle too. I feel like she is caring less and less about the bullshit and just kind of staying tethered to her truth and standing behind it. Like when it comes to her relationship with the women, I kind of like it. She just kind of says it as it is. And
exactly. Yeah.
And she's like, let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. Just like every season, you know, it's a roller coaster. You never know who's going to be what. And I like her this season.
I do. I think it's hilarious. She has a lot of opinions, but clearly the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree.
Her little
one is just, I know. I love it. It's great.
With my pigtails.
That's
Mom,
what,
right?
Then we cut over to Melissa and Joe's, where Melissa is attempting to have a classy party with no glug, 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 glug.
Exactly. And I love her assistant with Joe comes in and says, you know, she brings out this shotgun.
I know, the tequila shot. I know, that looked fun. But I just sat there thinking, poor Melissa, a girl can dream. She thinks she's going to get a classy party. I mean,
no, it's a Gorga party.
With Joe, you could maybe get classy-ish, but I don't know if we could go like full classy.
No, and in another Italian themed party, and everyone was yellow.
Exactly. Then Dolores hosts a lunch for her mom and her daughter. We find out that little Frankie has a serious girlfriend, and big Frank, poor Frank, has a dying dog.
Right.
And he has a girlfriend that wants to get engaged. So he has to change his proposal plan and
from Costa Rica to their house in Franklin Lake.
Yes, which Dolores says is on the nicest street in Franklin Lakes. And I didn't know Frank was that well off, but good for him.
He must be making money in his, his flipping houses.
Yeah, exactly. Then we learn that Polly wants to begin a new business with Dolores.
Yeah.
And no, it's not a brothel. Not a brothel.
She would be such a great madam.
Wouldn't she be a great madam?
Oh.
I mean, she would, truthfully, she would protect the women. Dolores is the kind of, she's the mama madam you would want.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, it's not a brothel. It's electric. It's electric. Yeah. What was that song? It's electric.
Electric. Yeah.
I don't know. That song's fit what is that?
I know.
But do you know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do.
It's electric.
Did you see when Dolores was getting ready with the napkins and she says, Mom, you taught me how to fold a napkin like a twat.
Yes.
Because they were waitresses.
Yes. And she said something. Then after that, she said something even crazier, like the twat's looking at you or something.
Yeah, the twat is looking at you. You fold it like the twat is looking at you. That's amazing.
Oh my God.
Her sweet mom.
Then over at Louie's house, because it is Louie's house, Teresa is making breakfast while Louie goes to open the door for Zach.
The hairdresser.
Yes, the hairdresser who comes over to do Sweet Nicholas's hair. And I did think that was sweet. I mean, because Nicholas clearly struggles being around people. And I think it's great to allow him to get his hair cut in that environment. I thought that part was great. What I didn't think was great was the fact that out of nowhere, Teresa sits down in this hair cutting thing and then looks at him. The
love fest.
Yeah. What? Did you see that?
It was so weird.
She goes, Nicholas, do you love me? I mean, like, what?
Yeah.
And then poor kid, what's he supposed to say?
Exactly. Nicholas, you love me. I thought, what's happening here?
What's happening right now? And then did you see out of nowhere, then a minute later, Louie goes, babe,
I love you. So weird. And then the other son.
Yeah, the other son. I love you too. I'm like, what in God's name is happening here? And then Teresa goes, we just always want to do the right thing for you guys. You guys come first.
Well, and today when I was
hug.
Yeah, so well, okay, so this morning when I was listening to the podcast, which I can't listen anymore. Today I did for you.
I just needed to confirm. What was so hilarious, did I tell you that she was plastering it everywhere, that last week, her first episode was the #1 podcast, which truthfully, it was just the trailer. It was not an episode. It was just, hey, this is Teresa. I'm going to have this and this and this.
This is what I'm doing.
And if you saw it and you listened to it, you could see that she was reading every word.
Awkward.
Then over at Fuda's, they're dealing with their sweet little daughter's development issues. She's got that tongue tie. That's so hard when you're a parent. And
anything with your kids.
Anything with your kids, and you don't know, are we going to grow out of this? Are we going to be dealing with this? But I mean, hats off to them. They're clearly fully devoted to getting her through this. She's adorable. Both their kids are cute.
So cute.
And then Rachel reflects back onto that brunch and says the one thing that she learned through that brunch was that Teresa is the one person that she never wants to be like.
Yeah, she says that a lot.
I mean, I kind of feel the same way, to be honest. Then it's party time, and Jen Aiden is getting ready for the event. She tells Bill that she's stressed about seeing Joey Gorga.
Bill always just sits on that little bench, always in their bedroom when she gets ready.
I know. She says she thinks Danielle is an elitist in the way that she treated that hairdresser. But we just found out in this episode that chick wanted to bring the other chick that caused all the grief last year. So maybe there was some rhyme to Danielle's reason.
Right. And
you know what I mean? She wasn't just being a bitch. She was trying to avoid a bigger issue.
And Jen is telling her husband, and don't leave my side, Bill,
Yeah.
We're at the party.
Then the party starts and the guests are greeted by Joe and his balls.
Covered by a lemon.
I like to call it
so classy.
The Michelangelo. That's what it was. The Michelangelo. Rachel,
so
then they're only there for a few minutes before Rachel starts telling Melissa about the face-to-face she had with Teresa and Louie and how it all went down. Melissa literally cannot believe what she's hearing. This was amazing.
Yeah.
This was amazing. She can't believe what she's hearing. Rachel goes on to tell her about the blue label, the bow, the card, and that whole bit.
And then here comes Dolores.
In the same moment. You can't plan that shit.
The box.
With the blue bottle, with the bow, and the card, and the whole bit.
Right. Dolores
and
walks
did you see Rachel's jaw literally hit the ground? And I was so proud of Melissa for actually saying something. She's like, you didn't just bring that bottle to my house.
Dolores is she's changing. Instead of saying to Teresa, she is her friend, because that's what she's claiming, of course.
Well, she says, because before you say this, she prefaced it by saying, it's not my place to tell her that what she's doing is weird.
Yes, it is. You do it all the time.
And she's your friend, right?
Yeah. This isn't the place and time to give your brother a bottle of a gift and a card.
Exactly. Dingling Dolores actually said, she asked me to bring it and I brought it. She asked me to bring it and I brought it. If she asked you to jump off a cliff, where does it end?
Exactly.
Where does it end? Truthfully, why didn't she just say to her, listen, in this instance, I'm not going to bring it. You've made your stance with them clear. Let's not muddy the waters. Can't she try to calmly talk a little sense into her?
Exactly. This was her chance. No, it was
if Dolores had the guts to frame it in a way like, hey, Teresa, maybe we rethink this. Just even throw that out there. Then we're in Louie's kitchen once again, because it's not Teresa's. Making meatballs. Yeah, because Gia's going to move in with her boyfriend.
Who works for Louie.
And I'm wondering how much longer she's going to have glowing reviews of Louie once Christian's paychecks start bouncing. I mean, this isn't going to last much longer. You heard about all that Vanivia stuff that's going on. I mean, there's evidence just everywhere.
Yeah.
People aren't getting paid. I mean, it's not going to take long before it trickles down to Gia's Christian. But they said that Louie got hired on as a consultant. But here's my point. If Benivia can't pay their caterers or their floral, whoever they hire to do their florals, it's not going to be long. If they're giving Louie some great salary to be a consultant, that's not going to last long.
Right.
Because clearly his consulting isn't working, or else they'd be doing better and they'd be able to pay their bills, right?
Yeah. Or was he ever even paid?
Well, his son, the one that loves Teresa too, the other son, was working for that Benivia. He was doing social media for them, and he has completely disappeared off of, you don't see him working for them anymore. Did you see when Teresa was making the meatballs, and then she looked at those oven mitts and it said Mr. and Mrs.?
Danielle gave them to her.
And then she said, but now Danielle's hanging out with people I don't like. And Gia, in an effort to prove that the apple does not fall far from the tree, says, "Oh, Mom, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. As long as they're not playing both side of defenses."
Yeah, both sided defenses. It's like
both side of defenses.
Yeah.
What?
I know.
Could you believe that?
Yeah.
And then Teresa goes, "Well, I just don't want anyone to muddle the waters." Muddle, not muddy, muddle. I mean, maybe if there is a reality show, there's chatter about them getting their own show. Maybe it could be like, I don't know. Teresa goes to ESL. I don't know. And Teresa says, this group is a bunch of troublemakers, like John Fugazi. She calls him that John Fugazi all the time now. So we really have to get to the bottom of the Fugazi of it all. I'm sure there's people that are watching this that know exactly what it is. So for whoever knows more than we do, please comment below.
Yeah, let us know.
Teresa tried to say, "I really wanted my brother to have that housewarming gift. And what happened?" And that's when Louie goes, "He was in a rush to be a bitch boy for your brother."
Jesus Christ.
To be a bitch boy for your brother. I mean, there he goes again.
Yeah.
Back at the party, the Fesslers are arriving as Dolores and Polly make their way back to where the boys are. Joe yells.
He sees the bottle.
Yeah, Joe yells, "Look who's here." And he's so excited to see them until he finds out that bottle that they brought.
Bottle and his face.
Did you see
heartbreaking.
It was instant.
Yeah.
It was instant. I felt so sorry for him.
And then he just spills out the heartbreak of his sister. And Melissa's like, "This is exactly why you shouldn't have brought the bottle."
Because Melissa knows that inside Joe is a broken-hearted little boy.
Of course he is.
And honestly, I think she's trying to just save his heart at this point, because you can see he is so devastated.
She broke him.
And makes it.
Yeah, everyone listening to him saw it too.
Truthfully, except Jen Fessler. Jen Fessler was talking shit.
And then he took the card and just threw it into he didn't even open the card. He threw it into the fire.
Because truthfully, would you have opened the card? I don't think, do you think she had good intentions sending that? I don't.
No, not at all.
She didn't have good intentions sending that. What did she think that was going to warm his heart?
Yeah.
They're going to make her look better. I mean, it's like she doesn't think anything through. Then Dolores and Melissa turn and walk away. I think Dolores felt like an idiot at that point, and God knows she should have.
Hopefully.
Jen Fessler says that she doesn't think anyone that sends a housewarming gift is trying to do anything nasty. But I think given who sent that, I think that's exactly what it was.
Exactly. No.
It wasn't anything nice. Yeah, and Joe goes on, even the fact that when Joe said, even after he screwed me, I still forgave him and I still let him back in. And 2 months later, he's got, private eyes following me, trying to make me look like a bad guy to the rest of the world.
It's
true. It's all true. Everything Joe said was true. Every single word.
Yeah, Joe doesn't lie.
And it's heartbreaking. That flashback they did of the way he accepted Louie. He wanted to love Louie.
He said he loved Louie at the
He
golf
wanted to love Louie. He wanted them. But the fact of the matter is that Louie was threatened by the proximity of Joe. That's what Louie is. And that's why that's why Louie drove a wedge in between Teresa and that old podcast host, too, who I talked about that in the beginning, who has now come out and is finally speaking.
Right, the Melissa. And you know what also Teresa said in her podcast today was, everything was fine in my family until there was other blood. Melissa.
I feel like you and I got to exactly the same point before we turned it off, because I heard that
27 minutes and 14 seconds. I said no more.
I know. It's all about the new blood. What about Louie's new blood, right?
Yeah.
What about when Louie wasn't around and she was having a blast with her brother and her sister-in-law? Because there was that summer where they were all hanging out, they were all having fun. What happened then?
Yeah, they took care of her and they loved her.
Totally took care of her. Then Jen, Jackie, Bill, and Evan arrive, and the temperature instantly turns up. Did you see Jackie wasn't there for 5 minutes before she fell on her ass? Yeah,
I wonder, was it the tequila she slipped on?
I don't know what, but Jackie seems like, I don't know. She just seems a little out of it to me this season. She like a little la-la, like, I don't know. Like maybe she has a couple drinks before every scene. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe she's popping a Xanax. I don't know. She just feels a little different to me.
Yeah.
Then Rachel and the girls start to recount the big face-to-face that happened. And Jackie leans over to Jen Fessler and says, I've never seen anyone hate anyone more than Rachel hates Teresa. Dolores asks Rachel what Louie actually said at the face-to-face. And she responded with, Louie didn't even talk, which he didn't. Yeah. Then Melissa is clearly done with it. And she says, can we please change this vibe? Can everybody get a drink? And can we please change this vibe?
Right.
Then after receiving an earful from Dolores, Marge goes over to talk with Jackie and ask her, this was unbelievable too. I'm telling you, Marge is the MVP.
Marge is next level.
Marge is top dog. Sorry.
She
top
is
dog.
Right. We say it every time.
100%.
Don't fuck with Marge.
She is super annoyed that Jackie said that there's no way that Rachel would have made amends with Teresa because Marge and Melissa were in her ear, and Marge is not having it. Yep. She marches right over to Jackie to confront her. Jackie goes, well, I do think that. And then Melissa pipes up and goes, Jackie, I consider you a really good friend, and I'm not mad with
you're friends with Teresa.
Yeah, I'm not mad that you made amends with her.
She doesn't give a shit.
And then Jackie goes, well, that's not true. You tried to create something at that brunch. You tried to create a problem
about what she told her in private.
About what what I told you in private. And Melissa goes, it's in your book. It's in your book. And not only that, but she came onto her podcast and spilled it out of her own mouth and talked about the fact that she claims Teresa caused her a relapse into her eating disorder.
Exactly. That's huge.
And so now now that you're in Teresa's good graces, we're just playing fast and loose with the truth. And she goes, the book hasn't come out yet. Well, what does it matter if the book's come out yet?
Exactly.
Well, if the truth went into the book, then we should be able to talk about the truth all of the time, not just once it's out in print. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then Margaret says to Jackie, I have been nothing but good to you. Jackie says, you've insinuated that you're responsible for my successes. Margaret says, no, that's your insecurity. They go on and on. Margaret says, you're just so defensive. And then Jackie goes, that's it. I'm not defensive. I've had enough. This is a big waste of my time. And exit stage left.
And then Marge pulls out her arsenal of the text.
Because Marge is reeling at this point.
Yeah.
Because Marge is like, what planet are you living on, lunatic?
I've been nothing but your friend.
And she has. We saw that too.
Every season.
Haven't we seen that too? She has been her biggest cheerleader. Margaret then, so that she sees Dolores, Margaret sees Dolores and says, she complained that you didn't tag her in that picture at the ball game.
Yeah, and
Marge
I'm always happy when I'm not tagged.
Dolores says that was a total accident. And Marge goes, well, I had to talk her off the ledge about it. Then Jackie goes into the kitchen and finds Joe, Margaret's husband, starts loving on him. And Margaret, did you see that? Margaret sees it and beelines over there. Saw red.
Don't be hugging on my husband.
And just literally got in between them, looked at her husband and said, we are not talking to her. She is talking all this nonsense about us and we are not playing that game.
Yeah.
And I honestly laughed my ass off. I mean, that was hilarious. Oh, you know what I don't want to forget? So after Margaret said, no, that's your insecurity, Jackie goes, you're mad that I'm friends with Teresa. Did you see that?
Yeah.
You're just mad that I'm friends with Teresa. And too bad. And it's like, it took so much effort. You're just mad that I'm friends with Teresa. And too bad. And then she said, this is a big waste of my time and I'm walking away. But you're just mad that I'm friends with Teresa. This is 100% Jackie's ticket to ride on into the show.
Exactly.
100%. I firmly believe this was a calculated decision. She was willing to sacrifice her friendships to stay on the show. Because I think that she, at her core, is still so painfully screwed up inside that she may now not be getting validation in that addiction that she had. And now I think she is getting what she needs through another channel.
This way, right?
And it's on the channel that is Bravo. Jen and Danielle try to break down what's going on between them. And that was kind of a nothing burger, really.
Right.
Except the fact that Aiden really showed her true colors once again and tried to say that they should have had Aiden plastic surgery on the step and repeat. I mean, I gotta say, you gotta give it to her. I mean, he should be giving her a bonus because she really does a lot of work trying to plug that guy's business. Then Jackie approached Dolores and starts to ask her, why does Margaret go so low? Dolores says back, she actually told me that you were upset that I didn't tag you. And she goes, yeah, I was, but she shouldn't have told you that because it was a private conversation. And then right at that moment, Marge sends Dolores the text that Jackie sent her.
Yes.
Where Dolores did call her a slob. I mean, a slob.
Jackie called Dolores a slob.
How funny was it when Dolores puts her glasses on and says, hold on, I got something about her dog. Like she's looking at something for her dog. She scrolls down, finds that text and goes, you called me a slob?
Yeah,
Did you see Jackie's face just dropped?
Yeah, that was amazing. But a slob.
Dolores tells Jackie, that's horrible. I don't talk about you like that.
Right.
And then Jackie comes back with, well, you should hear the things she says about you and Polly. It's horrible, but she doesn't write it down. I mean, what was that?
No, she's just grasping for.
But that now I know why Margaret said it's over with Jackie. Like if someone does that to you, you're just trying to call them on something that's real. And then in an effort to retaliate, instead of receiving it and believing that it's coming from a place of caring and concern, that you get so defensive that you hurl out all of these horrible
accusations.
Sorry, that's done. I'd 100% be done with her. Wish her well, send her on her way. It was great while it lasted, but I am done with you.
Good luck, author.
I don't keep people in my life like that.
No.
What about Dolores tells Jackie, well, then she's smart for not writing it down. A lot smarter than you.
Yeah.
A lot smarter than you.
Dolores. That's why it's so funny that she's choosing what she.
Well, it's great to see that she can just lay it all out there with Jackie. I wish she could give Teresa 10% of it. Yeah. Just 10.
Yeah, because she's smart. She's smart.
And then she tells her, I need a couple minutes. Because that was disgusting. I need a couple minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And Jackie just tucked her tail between her legs and walked away. She goes, I understand. And then Dolores says in confessional that where she comes from, being called a slob is a nasty word.
Exactly. Yeah. Growing
and
up
then
there.
she also said to Jackie, this isn't the first time I've heard that you've said nasty things about me.
Ooh.
Well, Jackie is officially Team Teresa at this point.
Of course,
100%.
She's been this whole season, but yeah, it's out.
Melissa asks Marge what's happening, and Margaret says, she's an insecure little fucking psychotic who I've stuck by and really loved her.
She did, yeah.
And only wanted good for her. And she's
Right.
just a nasty asshole. She goes, it's over. And I was like, yes, it is, Marge.
Yeah,
it is over.
Yeah, it's over.
And then at that point, so was the episode. And then that was it. But I got to say, it was an amazing end.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that was the juiciest episode this season so far.
Yeah. How many more until the finale?
I feel like we're right at the halfway point.
Okay.
Yeah. Right at the halfway point. So
yeah, it's getting good and I cannot wait to see.
We will see what shakes out. And I'm very curious to see what this reunion is going to be. And no, I'm not talking about whatever happened on Turning the Tables with Teresa.
No, exactly. What Andy's talking about. Andy keeps saying it's good stuff.
It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Right? It's gotta be good because I feel like, although I really do, in my heart of hearts, I really believe that they scrapped the reunion because they just didn't want all of that. They didn't want to rehash all of the bullshit about them co-signing Teresa's crazy because apparently they knew that she was trading trailers for favors and stuff like that. So I don't think Bravo wants to just, wade into that mess anymore.
Exactly. Right.
I think they want to put a period on the end of this season and just pretend like it never happened.
Yeah.
But we will see, my love. Anyway, I love you.
I love you.
Tell everybody where they can find you.
Christy May's Garage on Instagram.
The Succulent Queen in San Jose, in the Bay Area. That is your girl. Find Christy May's Garage for all of your succulent needs. You are succulent, my love. It's got to be said. All right, my love. I'll talk to you later, babe.
Yep. Love you.
Thanks for being here. Bye. Okay, everybody, we are going to dive into the personal development portion of our pod today with Mr. Chip Beardsley. Chip is a devoted husband and father and friend. He is a former teacher of the year who has taught and inspired thousands and coached hundreds of kids along the way in his 25 years of teaching. And now he gets to add author to his roster because Chip has written a new book called The Optimum 8. A guide to peace of mind and body. And I am so happy that he is here with us today. Welcome to Generally Speaking, Mr. Beardsley.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Jen. Great to see you.
What a beautiful scene you have behind you.
I know. I was telling you, I said I was going back and forth. I'm back here and you might get some wildlife. We get deer coming through here all the time, but
so and we may have unexpected visitors.
Yes, and
we welcome it.
Some foxes around here too.
Oh, I love it.
Oh yeah.
So can I just tell you that I got my book in the mail, and what struck me first was its size. That is what I loved the most. Chip, I loved that it is just so handy. That's what it feels like. It feels functional and handy.
It was built for that. The idea is that it's when my sister and I were talking about putting this together and making this a book, one of my main focuses was that I want it to be small enough to go into that small pocket of a backpack. I want you to be able to have it with you on the go, take a look at it. If you're at school, say you're in college, if you're at school, you have it and just kind of do checks.
Like reference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that. We should probably state before we get too far, I would just like to disclose that Chip and I do know each other. We are friends. We have known each other for quite a few years now. Well, how long have you been married?
We have been married. This is going to be our 26th year coming up this year. Yes.
Wow. And I was in that wedding. So we have been in each other's orbit for quite some time now.
You were.
And I just have to say, this is so amazing. Number one, I am just so proud of you for taking the leap and, People don't just write books every day. And I think it is really brave to put yourself out there and stand behind what you have to say, because your voice clearly matters. And it has, because I know that you have been such a phenomenal teacher for so many years, and you have helped so many people in so many ways just through your hands-on teaching with kids.
That's funny. You sounded like my mom right there, Jen, where we we had had these conversations, and she knew that I was always writing, and I had my notebooks and different things like that and on my computer. And she was so happy that I decided to just go ahead and say, "Hey, we're going to do this. I'm going to put it
Yeah.
out there and see how it goes." I truly believe in it. So that's what finally gave me that final push, was that this is something that lots of people need to get them going for their daily lives. Yeah.
Right, because you probably felt a natural alignment with this. You felt, when you can stand behind something with your heart and soul,
Correct.
it's not even something that you can do. It's almost something that you feel like you must do.
Yes, I got to a point where we were going back and forth, and when I made this decision to go for it, I said, you know what, this is something that I think lots of people could jump into, and it could get them going day one. That's one of the things we talked about before, is that I believe in this so much because I feel like it's something that it's not a month away, it's not 2 months away, it's right now. Once you take a look at this and you
Right.
get into it, you're going to realize that I can make a change today.
Because I think in this book, what is so striking, I think it's very practical. And I think that when you want to make those kind of changes and adjustments, you need a practical solution, right? If you're looking for that immediacy, it needs to be something that you can do just like that.
I agree. Practicality is the key here. There's not, and I mentioned this in early section. There's not genius here. It's logic and saying, here's what we can do in order to make our days a little bit better. And once we get going, once you do that, then the next day, and then the next day, the idea of consistency. But this is pretty straightforward stuff where you're not having to read into any of my meaning. I'm telling you exactly what I think could help. And here's what you could do if you want to.
I love that. I feel like so oftentimes people that are just dipping their toe into the self-improvement world and just making that first shift, because let's face it, until people make that first shift, they haven't made it. You know what I mean? They're
I
walking
do.
through life blind and confused and wondering why things aren't going the way they, always envisioned that they would. So then all of a sudden you have a moment, a little bit of clarity, a little bit of consciousness, and you're like, wait a minute, maybe I could play a part in that, right?
Of course.
And then so oftentimes they go and they'll buy a book, and they'll buy maybe a book that is a little above their grade, and they just feel completely overwhelmed by it because it's not so accessible, and they're using words that don't really, that it's not your everyday vernacular. So they are maybe intimidated by it. They feel a little lost, and then they put it back on the shelf. That's not this book.
Nope. Right.
Okay.
I was looking at my bookshelf today, thinking that you might ask me about some of the books that I lean into, and I was taking them out. I'm thinking, man, this is a lot of stuff here. And the idea for ours, for the Optimum 8, is that don't put it on your bookshelf. Have it ready to go on your nightstand, in your backpack, but you're going to read it that day. Like
Right.
I
And
use the
also
example of my dad.
it's such an easy read that, I mean, you read it and pick it up and read it all over again. And that's the beauty of this. And I also would like to say that I think there is a self-help book for everyone. So for the people that are just dipping their toes in, this is where you begin.
It's a great starter.
So Chip, you say there are 8, the Optimum 8. You want to go through them?
Sure. You want to go one by one?
Let's go one by one.
My thought process on waking up is the first one. Wake up. And it seems so straightforward, but one of the things that happens, and I know this because I see it, I hear it, is the idea of hitting the snooze or turning the alarm off and then not waking up when you said you were going to wake up.
Right.
The premise for wake up in my book is that if you tell yourself that you should wake up at this time, there's a reason for it.
Right.
So if you have a reason for waking up, if you know what your plan is for that day and it says, hey, you got to wake up at this time to get started, step number one for creating that good day is waking up at that time.
Holding yourself accountable to the fact that you said you were going to get up at that time.
Yep. And it
right?
creates positivity for your day, because once you do it that first time, that means that you just did the thing that you said you were going to do.
Yep.
Step one.
Yep. And there you're already changing your momentum the moment that you do that.
Yes.
Okay, number 2.
Lift exercise, right? It's the idea of working out. And I mentioned this also in the book where I say, hey, this isn't new information. This isn't like, oh my gosh, Beardsley's telling me I should work out.
Right, right.
Like, no, everybody else says that in the world. It's true.
It's true.
That is true. We
It is
should
true.
do something physically active each day, whether it's walking, whether it's jogging, jumping rope, paddle boarding, whatever it is
Right.
that you want to do. I'm not
Right.
saying that you have to do anything in particular, but yes, we should do something physically active every day for your body and your mind.
Right, because when we move our body, it's just science that it changes your state. So if you're looking to create a shift and you're looking to get unstuck, you can't do that until you change your state. And that's why you're right, movement is so important.
Yes, I highly believe in it. And I talk about it in the book. I talk a little bit about my workouts and how they're not always great. It's not like the videos that everybody sees.
Sure.
It's just,
Sure.
I'm doing this workout and it's like, it was okay. But it's still part of the process of me doing that workout, even when it's not great.
Right. Right. Because you said you would.
Exactly.
And that goes back to the accountability. Okay, my dear, number 3
is a combo. Learn, read, listen. I believe in the idea of getting as much information as we can, whether it's for books. I get a lot of my information from books, listening to a podcast, uh, listening to an audio book on my way to work, whatever it is, all these things where I can make my day better, make me a better dad, a better husband, a better teacher, whatever it is. I believe there's so much great information out there that if I let it come to me, if I take this information, it's only going to improve my life.
Right.
When it comes to listening, where I say that, and it sometimes gets construed as that we're listening to an audiobook. I believe in listening to people. I believe over the years, I've really become an excellent listener where I take information and I'm not trying to give my information before they're finished. I want to take everything that they're giving me. That is the key for me, is to be able to listen to others and gather information that way before trying to be heard.
Right, absolutely. I always compare myself to a sponge, because if you think about it, a sponge can absorb so much. And then once it's absorbed all of that, you can squeeze, it's like squeezing out, then you get to squeeze that knowledge out onto everybody else. You know what I mean? You take it
Yes.
all in, and then you can share it with the world or share it with the community or whoever you need to share that information with. But taking it all in is so important.
Oh, agreed.
So, okay, what are we on, number 4?
Work.
Work.
It's a real thing, people. This is part of life, and it all depends on how you're going to look at it. We talk about luck in the book a little bit. I've been a lucky guy. I've been working in the same school district for 28 years, and I love my job. I like going to work every day.
And they love you. I know that.
We get great connections with the students. I have my dream job where I'm teaching PE at 2 different schools, and it is work. It is my job. I have to come up with the setup and the plan and do this.
Sure.
But if I do these things, if I'm prepared and I go in and I know I'm making a difference, I realized that, yes, this is my job. This is how I pay bills and this and that. But when I finish with it, I feel good. I feel productive. I feel, hey, I did what I said I was going to do today.
Right. I think it's almost like you feel like a link. I think you understand the importance of being a link in a bigger picture. You know, it's like being a bridge. Being a bridge, you are like a bridge. As a teacher, you are a bridge, and bridges are so important because they connect things, and connection is what keeps this world going around. I mean,
Oh, there's no doubt.
without connection, we are a screwed society.
Well, and that's you say that it's actually I feel the key to teaching is creating a connection with students. Once you have done that, everything just kind of works out by itself. But until you do, then you're working. You're okay. How am I going to discipline? What am I going to do? This setup.
Right.
But when you create these connections, everything gets
because you're rooted in the right stuff. And when you're rooted in the right stuff, things grow in the right way.
Right.
Okay, next.
But where are we going? What's our next one here?
Well, after work.
Oh yes, inspire. I love it. I want to be inspired every single day, no matter how it is. And one of the references I use are my parents. My parents are just huge in my life still to this day. They're my twice a week phone call in the morning and the afternoon. And
do they both get on the phone to talk to you at the same time?
oh no, mom's in the morning, dad's in the afternoon.
That's so cute.
So, but they are honestly, they are, and I don't want this to be like, oh, you just had the perfect parents, this and that. No, they grew. They figured things out and they improved and became they're the greatest grandparents also to our kids. But they inspire me by just being great listeners, being non-judgmental, letting me kind of vent whatever it is I need to vent at the time. It makes me want to keep getting better so I can be that way for my future grandkids.
That's fabulous. Has your relationship with them always been like this?
No, no, it hasn't, but it was always good. I've always had a good relationship, but it has grown to this. We have this mutual respect, and we just really enjoy they're down south,
right,
also, but we still connect all the time, and whenever we can get down there, we get down there. But no, it's such a great relationship, and they inspire me every single day. And I think whenever you're getting inspired, then it kind of gets you in the mode of trying to inspire others.
absolutely.
And maybe that's part of the book also.
Right. I love that. I'm telling you, to get to a point where your cup is so full that all you want to do is share what you know about the journey that will help ease the burden is such a beautiful place to be. Okay, after inspired,
my favorite. So play is next, and that is it's a huge part of my life. And in teaching PE, I'm with this and I'm around it every single day. Even if I wasn't teaching PE, I would be doing it every single day. It's just a part of who I am. And it doesn't mean I have to be going out and playing soccer or golf or anything like that. Play could be playing cards, playing chess, in anything where the interaction, the connection, whatever it is. But I do truly believe that we start to lose that as we get older, and people kind of, that's one of the things that they let go.
Right.
And in the book I reference it, I feel like we should keep recess going for as long as possible, because people need to be active, doing, playing, interacting in that way.
You're right.
Longer than they think is necessary.
Absolutely. And people so get into the grind of life that they forget to play. It is, you're right. It's almost like they need a reminder. They need a reminder, and then they need permission, because so many people feel guilty, because I think we've been in such a grind culture for so long. You got to work, that people feel guilty if they take time out to play. When you come off of the field, or when you come out of a game, your body. You know what I mean? That is, you feel just connected to life that way.
Yes. And you made such a good point at the beginning that when we get into these modes, whether it's school or work or whatever it is, or just life, that what gets pushed off to the side,
Yeah.
those things that are important, whether it's play, whether it's meditation, whatever it is, these things are getting pushed off to the side, and they're incredibly important for our day-to-day
Yes,
life.
they really are, because they connect us to our truest self. Okay, what is next, my dear?
The my youngest son thought I should have this as the first one, either first or last, is the idea of taking responsibility for your actions and what you decide to do every day.
I love it.
Is yes. So we need to get out of the excuse zone. We need to say, hey, you know what? I need to make sure I'm making myself accountable for the things that are happening to me or around me. And the way we do that is just to say, I'm going to take ownership of it.
Totally. Yeah. It's huge.
I agree.
Taking ownership for every avenue of your life will change your life. Okay, we just had a little glitch there. Where were we?
We were on a transition. We were transitioning from that's a great transition. We were transitioning from take responsibility to sing and dance.
Oh, yes. Huge.
I'm a music person. I love listening to music. Um, I get most of my dancing out in the car or during my workouts in the garage. I'm usually dancing during my workout or singing, but I truly feel that this is another one of those things that gets pushed off to the side,
Yep.
and we don't do it enough.
Right? I mean, you release so many endorphins that way, and people want to feel good. It goes back to the whole changing your state, like a rush of endorphins will change your state, and suddenly your life doesn't look, when you have a rush of endorphins, life doesn't seem so overwhelming, right? You feel like, oh, maybe this day's not going to be so bad. And why not start your day like that instead of feeling like there's a wet dark blanket all over you?
Oh, I totally agree that this, if you can do it morning, noon, night, whenever the best time that works for you. If you're not comfortable in front of other people singing and dancing, do it on your own. You're still going to get that feeling where you're kind of just letting yourself go a little bit.
Letting yourself go a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it takes you out of your head. And so many of us get so stuck in our heads. And it is so important to get out of your head, get into your heart, get into your body, and slow down that little wheel that is constantly spinning upstairs.
Yes, for sure. So that takes us through all the sections.
Yes, that takes us through all. That is the Optimum 8.
Those are.
Those are the Optimum 8. And I see here that you have all kinds of spaces for people to get practical and write stuff down and make it accessible. And I think you should be selling these in a 3-pack. Have you thought about, you need to push these for these would be great stocking stuffers.
Yeah, I was just having a conversation with my sister about this, and the idea of the 3-pack and the stuff, we absolutely love it.
Truthfully, imagine, Chip, you have 3 kids. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You have 3 kids. I would be putting this in the stocking of, I mean, even if my kids were like in 5th grade, 6th grade, I would start this. I mean, I think it's
Yes,
so important to start the conversation early.
I agree. And if you think about it, it wasn't my core focus group, but I've had people that have talked to me about the book. They've said, yes, I think this could be built in much earlier, more so than later. But
Yeah.
I do agree with you. I love that idea. And the other day when we were talking, I was thinking about this too, is you had said something about what kind of really led me to finishing this, going through with it, writing
Right.
this book. And I remember we had talked about it. I had talked about it with Melissa, and one of the things that this last year in teaching, I have a new position that I took, and I get to see all these different students, right? And I see these students that are really driven, self-starters, hardworking. They're always on time and in class ready to go.
Sure.
And then I have another group where I see these students and they're super cool kids. I love being around them, but they're not self-starters.
Right.
They're not driven yet. They're
Right.
not getting to school on time. They're not being in attendance all the time. And it doesn't take away from them as a human being. They're great. I always have great students, great kids, but I feel like they're falling behind when they're not getting to the point where they're doing these things in the Optimum 8 to get those days going.
Right.
They're falling behind these other kids. And I think that kind of led me to saying, hey, some of these students who are self-driven and they're ready to go, this could be something. Yes, it could be something over here and I'm going to use it. But there are so many people that are ready and need to use this.
Right. Exactly. Where, yes, those ones that they're sitting there on the fence and you're thinking, hey, I know there's more in you, and they probably do too. And they just need that boost, that little kick, that little bit of help to get there.
That's the point that I wanted to, you just helped me out. It's these little things. It's not this big, huge thing.
Right.
It's these little things that you do each day that are going to lead you towards success.
I always say life is a series of shifts, and a book like this could be your first shift. And I know that this book is very much about shifting and getting unstuck. So I would like to ask you, Mr. Beardsley, when in your life have you felt most stuck?
I'm laughing because I was telling you about my parents before. My dad, I had talked to my dad earlier today, and I had told him I was coming on here, and in his dad moment, he says, "Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to," and we had been talking not too long before. My dad, after he read this, he said, "This book would have been perfect for you and me when we were just starting in the 18s, 19s of college and doing that, because we weren't that self-starter. We were kind of just going along because we were supposed to go to college."
Right.
And you flounder sometimes. You
Sure.
kind of don't do everything the way that you wanted to. I would say at that, my core group, the 18 to 20, this time would be the time where I really kind of struggled. My dad had those same struggles. And when he read it the first time, he says, we needed this book when we were just starting out that way.
Right.
And I agree. Maybe I wrote this for my past self.
For your younger self.
Right.
Well, it's funny that you say that, because I think that's so true for a lot of us. Like I know that when I went through my spiritual orgasm and I had my big awakening, it was at that moment when I realized that I had been looking at life through the entirely wrong lens. And I realized that what I now saw, with the clarity that I now had, that I needed to do everything in my power to share that truth and to help people realize that there is such a better way to live, and that misery is not a life sentence, and that with the right perspective shift, and you really can start looking at life in a different way and genuinely create a life that you love living. And so that became my calling. All I really cared about is helping people come out from that darkness of believing that it was always going to be that way. Because for so long, I believed that it was always going to be that way. And I got to the point where I had completely given up on life and was ready to end my own. And then I had that spiritual shift that changed everything for me. So my heart just goes out to people now that feel the way that I once felt, and all I want to do is tell them that it doesn't have to be like this. If you think that it can get better, it's because it can. If inside you think, how can it, I feel like it's never going to get better, it must get better. I remember feeling that way. There must be more to life than this. And that's because there is. And it's books like this, Chip, truthfully, that help people make the shift to get you there. I read a million things. I went to a million classes, And I couldn't pinpoint one specific thing. It was the series of shifts that all led up to that awakening that I had.
And if we think about it too, if we want to, like, sometimes we try and look at life in this big, huge picture, right? We're looking at it from here to here.
Right. A big macro lens.
Right. But if we want to make changes, if we want to do something different, we could look at it day by day where, hey, let's wake up on time today.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get outside and play today, and then see if that leads me into waking up on time and going out and playing, and then maybe reading something the next day. So it's these daily moves, these shifts, these daily things
are
that
huge,
become that consistency that we need to improve life.
Yes. And then you start showing up for yourself, and then you start building your confidence because you believe that, you know, people that say they're going to do something and then they don't do it and are constantly letting themselves down. That's like self-sabotaging because they don't feel that they're worth showing up for. But when you start doing it, like you can go for years and years and years. I know this because I did it, of not showing up for yourself. And then one day you do. And honestly, I just got emotional because the day that you do is the day that everything changes. And a book like this is such a great place to start. And I am just so proud of you for writing it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I feel, thank you so much. I feel great about it. You know, when I was coming on here, I was talking to my wife the other day. Jen was in our wedding. And I said, hey, give me your first thing when I say Jen's names. Give me your first thing that pops into your head. And she sat there for a second. She says, honeycombs. She says honeycombs. So for those of you out there, her thought was, Jen used to come over to their house, and my wife's parents, would keep the cupboards stocked with honeycomb cereal because you were going to
it was my favorite.
Devour that stuff.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Melissa's absolutely right. And it is hilarious because it's so true. Firstly, I always loved going over to Melissa's parents' house. The Tomasellos was just always such a peaceful place. And it was the opposite of my house because my house was just just a made for TV movie all the time. So going over there was such a nice little break. And then also, my mom never had cereal in the house. We always had hot breakfast, and cereal to me was such a treat. Like I would maybe get cereal wrapped on Christmas morning. Like, swear to you, Chip, that was a present. Like, just because my mom didn't do cereal. Like occasionally my grandparents would sneak it over, but the Tomasellos always had honeycomb, and it was my favorite. So I used to just love to go over there and dive into the honeycomb. And she's right. Sal used to keep it stocked for me.
Oh yeah. I heard them on the phone today and they were laughing about it.
Oh, those were the days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, those were good times. Well, love, I am so happy to have you on Generally Speaking. This has been a complete joy. I am so proud of you. I am so proud of this book. Why don't you tell everybody where they can get a copy?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. We've had a couple conversations lately, and they've just been, it's been so fun to have. And after every single one, I've just been thinking about even more things, and I'm really thankful for you and giving me your insight also. So I truly appreciate
you're so welcome. You're so welcome. It's been my pleasure, honestly.
So the Optimum 8 is on Amazon Books. It's out. We are live right now. So you can go on to Amazon Books right now.
And where can people reach out to you if they want to get in contact with you for whatever reason?
Yeah, the best way for that would be the Optimum 8 on Instagram. They can direct message me that way.
Perfect.
I'm checking that consistently, and
I love it.
I love talking about the idea of improving daily life. So I'm always up for conversations about how to improve. and then people can help me for the next ones for after we've got these 8 down, then what we're going to do next, right?
The next 8.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. All right, babe. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you have the best
Appreciate
night.
it. All
Give
right,
all
you
my
too.
love to the family.
Will do. Have a
Okay,
good one.
bye. Okay, everybody, that about does it for this episode of Generally Speaking. Thank you so much for being here. I have loved spending this time with you. If you would like to find me on socials, you can reach me on TikTok at This Is Generally Speaking or on Instagram at The Jennifer Snook. If you would like to email me to collaborate or ask a question that you might want answered on the pod, you can reach me at jennifer@jennifersnook.com. If you've been watching us on YouTube, please make sure you smash that subscribe button. If you're listening on any other platform, please make sure you give us a follow, give us a like, make sure you give us a 5-star rating. We would love that. If you want to get your hands on some of this cute Generally Speaking merch, I will leave the link in the description right next to the link for the Optimum 8. A big thank you to Christy and Chip. And until we are together again, stay rooted in love. See you later, everybody.